secrets would finally come to light. The term freak-off might sound like a wild night of indulgence, conjuring images of velvet ropes, champagne towers, and the kind of excess reserved for the ultra-wealthy. But beneath the glittering surface, there was a darkness that few could imagine. In this trial, freak-off took on a sinister meaning. It wasn't about pleasure or freedom. It was about manipulation, secrecy, and control. The courtroom atmosphere was heavy as the truth behind the parties began to unravel. These gatherings were meticulously orchestrated, not for fun, but as calculated acts of coercion. Diddy himself filmed the events, turning private moments into weapons, tools for blackmail and intimidation. The prosecution's case was built on these disturbing tapes. They didn't just show isolated incidents, they revealed a chilling pattern, a methodical system of abuse and psychological control that spanned years. Financial records, once thought to be routine business documents, now exposed a hidden reality. Diddy's companies funneled money to fund these encounters, making the abuse part of a larger, organized operation. Cassie Ventura bravely took the stand, her voice trembling as she recounted how she was forced to participate. For her, compliance wasn't a choice. It was a matter of survival, a way to avoid even greater harm. Diddy's control was absolute. He directed and filmed every moment, making it clear that any attempt to leave would be met with threats to destroy her reputation and her life. In one particularly chilling incident, he played a tape for Cassie on a crowded commercial flight, using the public setting to reinforce his dominance and her helplessness. These tapes were never about intimacy or connection. They were about ownership, about keeping Cassie under his control, no matter where she went. As the courtroom watched the evidence unfold, it became clear these recordings were not just memories, but a systematic archive of domination, ensuring Cassie could never truly escape Diddy's shadow. Cassie Ventura, nearly 9 months pregnant, took the stand, a symbol of resilience and pain. For days, she recounted a decade of alleged abuse, physical violence, emotional manipulation, and sexual coercion. She described feeling like a sex worker, forced to arrange and participate in encounters Diddy filmed. At one point, she broke down, saying she'd give back every penny of her settlement to erase those horrors. Text messages and financial records corroborated her story, including a haunting message: "No one deserves to be dragged by their hair." Evidence showed Diddy's company paid for hotels damaged during violent outbursts. Cassie's composure wavered, but she persevered, her testimony a courageous act of defiance. The defense's cross-examination was relentless, but Cassie stood firm. Her voice, raw and unwavering, became the heart of the prosecution's case. While the infamous freak-off tapes remained locked away from the public eye, there was one video that couldn't be hidden: the 2016 hotel security footage. This single recording would become a turning point, not just for those involved, but for the world watching. The silent, black-and-white clip was chilling. It captured Diddy chasing Cassie down a hotel hallway, violently throwing her to the floor, kicking her as she tried to shield herself, and then dragging her back to their room. There was no sound, but the brutality spoke volumes. For many, this footage was the first undeniable proof of violence, shattering Diddy's carefully crafted public persona. The images were impossible to ignore or explain away. Within hours, the video exploded across social media platforms. Outrage spread like wildfire, and suddenly Cassie's claims were no longer just allegations. They were backed by hard evidence. The world was watching, and the conversation shifted overnight. In court, Cassie bravely took the stand to explain the context behind the footage. She described how she had tried to leave that night, and how Diddy's response was immediate and brutal. Her testimony gave voice to the silent video. The prosecution seized on the video, making it the anchor of their case. It made every other claim Cassie brought forward seem not only plausible, but likely. Under mounting pressure, Diddy was forced to issue a public apology. But for most, it rang hollow, an obvious attempt at damage control rather than genuine remorse. For the jury, the video was a stark, unfiltered introduction to the reality of Diddy and Cassie's relationship. It was impossible to look away from the truth it revealed. The footage demonstrated not only Diddy's capacity for violence, but also Cassie's vulnerability and fear. It was a moment that changed public perception forever. As the world watched, the video became the prologue to even darker stories that would soon unfold, stories that would force everyone to confront the truth behind the headlines. The freak-off tapes were meant for the jury only, sealed by court order. But secrecy fueled public curiosity. What was so explosive on those tapes? Then, in a shocking twist, the wall of secrecy was breached, allegedly by one of Diddy's own sons. Reports suggest a careless moment with a court device led to a portion of the video leaking outside the secure environment. The exact details remain murky, but the damage was immediate. Courtroom chaos erupted as lawyers scrambled and the judge fumed. The leak, dubbed the tunnel tapes, became a bombshell. While the full videos didn't surface, details about their graphic content began to spread. Ironically, the tapes Diddy allegedly used to control Cassie were now exposed by his own family. The incident added drama and tragedy, shifting focus to the act of exposure itself. The tunnel tape leak sent shockwaves through the trial and the public. Suddenly, graphic descriptions of the tapes were everywhere, confirming Cassie's testimony and solidifying the narrative of exploitation. For the prosecution, the leak amplified their case, making it harder for the defense to discredit Cassie. The public became a secondary jury, exposed to the prosecution's core evidence. Diddy's defense was thrown into chaos, their strategy of containment shattered. The leak fed a narrative of a crumbling empire where even family support backfired. Legally, the breach threatened a mistrial. As the defense argued, the jury could be tainted. The judge paused proceedings, debating how to move forward. The focus shifted from evidence to the fairness of the trial itself. The case's trajectory was fundamentally altered by a single careless mistake. Cassie's testimony was reinforced by a wall of evidence and witnesses. Don Richard, a former bad boy artist, described seeing Diddy attack Cassie with a skillet, then his fists. Another alleged victim, Jane, testified Diddy filmed and threatened her too, showing a pattern of predatory behavior. Financial records and text messages backed up these accounts, showing company funds used for the encounters. The evidence painted a mosaic of fear and control, not just for Cassie, but for others. Each witness and document added to the picture of a man using power and wealth to dominate. The jury saw Cassie was not alone. Her story was part of a larger, disturbing pattern. The whispers of abuse had finally become a chorus in the halls of justice. As details from the trial and the tunnel tape leak spread, public reaction was swift and overwhelming. Social media exploded with support for Cassie, the hashtag #SurvivingDiddy trending for weeks. The evidence confirmed the dark side of celebrity culture, sparking national conversations about power and abuse. The music industry's silence was deafening, while critics like 50 Cent kept the story in the spotlight. The trial dominated news cycles, transcending entertainment to become a major national story. Long before the jury's verdict, the court of public opinion had spoken. Diddy's image was shattered. He was no longer a symbol of success, but of alleged predatory behavior and abuse. As of June 19, 2025, the Diddy trial hangs in the balance, recently delayed by a juror's illness. The prosecution's case is nearly complete, and the world waits to see the defense's strategy. The evidence, emotional testimony, corroborating witnesses, financial records, and video paints a grim picture. Yet, the standard for conviction is high proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Regardless of the verdict, Diddy's reputation and empire are in ruins. The trial has become a public autopsy of a legacy, revealing darkness that can't be unseen. The world remains captivated, awaiting the final chapter of this history-making case. The consequences will ripple far beyond the courtroom. Everyone is watching.